Welcome everyone. Today we're looking at some changes Wargaming might be introducing into World of Tanks. Well, first we're looking at some definite changes, and then we're going to use that to triangulate their idea in World of Tanks, the future of World of Tanks, and we're looking at the Chisel. Okay? So, let's see here. Here is the change for the Chisel. Alright? 440 alpha damage. So a 10% increase to the alpha, meaning the reload should have gone up 10%. And that's very easy math, okay? All you do is 9.5 times 1.1. That should have been the reload. Therefore, the Chisel is getting a DPM buff, okay? So we know this 120 is being buffed to 440 alpha damage. But that's not the only 120 being buffed to 440 alpha damage. We also have the CloneGuy. It's also a 120 being buffed to 440 alpha damage. Huh, how interesting. But that got me thinking a little bit more. The Chieftain. The Chieftain has the same gun as the Chisel. And I was thinking, why is the Chisel getting an alpha damage buff? That doesn't make any sense. It's got the same gun as the Chieftain. The Chisel has 400 alpha, which is unique to tier 10 medium tanks, other than I think the Centauro, because even the 105s, or the 120s, now have 420 alpha damage at tier 10. And so I was thinking to myself, was the Chisel what was being buffed, or was it a different tank being buffed? Well, it's got the same gun as the Chieftain, so we know then that the Chieftain is also going to be buffed to 440. Alright, and judging by this reload buff that they're giving the Chisel, I would say this tank is also going to get DPM buff. It's probably going to be around 2980 or 29, maybe even 3000 DPM. So this thing's going to have 440 alpha damage. We know that as well. But why is the Chieftain getting 440 alpha damage? That doesn't make any sense. This tank is doing very well. And so now you have two tanks, the Chisel and the Chieftain, that don't make sense as to why they're getting 440 alpha among the 120s. That doesn't make sense. So I thought long and hard again. And I believe that it is not the Chieftain. It's not the Chieftain that's getting buffed. No, I think it's the 120s. I think the 120s. I think the FE215B will also receive that buff. And the Super Conqueror, making the British special with 440 alpha damage. It's that, or they're going to get the 420 alpha damage and they decide to beef up the Chieftain the same as the Valor. That could be the case. But I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to be giving the FE215B and the Super Conqueror 440 alpha damage, which is insane. The FE215B is going to be a powerhouse. It's like, okay, so now you've got 120mm guns with 440 alpha damage. The FE215B is probably going to have more DPM than it's ever had before. So what does that do to the Americans? Okay, we're jumping over to the Americans now. They have 420 alpha damage. Are they going to also receive that treatment where they're going to have 420 alpha damage or 440 alpha damage? Or are they going to stay at 420? That is a good question. But this also creates a power vacuum between 120s and 105s. Okay, let's take a look at 105mm guns now. They have 390 alpha damage. They now have 50 less alpha damage than 120s. There's no way that's fair. There's no way that's staying. And Wargaming said they're buffing alphas. That is one of their priorities, is alpha damage. So are they going to buff 105s? Are 105s going to get buffed to 400? Maybe they'll get buffed to 400 alpha damage, but I have another theory. The Leopard 1, which is doing very well right now and a very popular tank. They want tanks to be more popular. They want people to spread out and play more tanks. And the treatment the Leopard got made it exactly that, with 420 alpha damage. Are they going to buff 105s to 420 alpha? Well, judging by this buff, the 105. That is not, or the 120. That is within the realm of reality, I would say. So that got me thinking a little bit harder here, and I'm not too happy. Obviously, this is a theoretical video, okay? But again, we based it off of what they've already given us. The Chisel buff doesn't make any sense. That gun getting buffed doesn't make any sense, which is why I believe the 120s are getting buffed. I believe 120s are getting buffed again. 440 alpha damage. I mean, the Kronvong is a 440 alpha damage, 120 now. The Chisel is a 440, 120 alpha damage, 120 caliber gun now. The Chisel's the same thing. The Chisel's going to see that buff because it's the same gun guaranteed. And so now there's going to be a power gap. Well, if there's a power gap between the 105s and 120s and they get buffed to 420, does that mean the Charioteer will have 420 alpha? Will the Dragon have 420 alpha? Or worse, what about the SFAC 105? Will that have 420 alpha? Now, this is an extreme scenario. Maybe they only buff to 410. Maybe they only buff to 400. But still, do we really want those tanks to be even better? But then the question is, what about the tier 10 122s? They have 440 alpha damage, but now the 120s do. So now there's no difference. Why would I play the 113? 113 with its 440 alpha damage. The IS-4 with its 440 alpha damage. Are those going to get buffed? Will they have 460 alpha damage? Or even worse, 480 or maybe 490? If the 120s are, or 122s are buffed to 490, then will the 128s and 130s be buffed to 460? But do you see this trend? Why buffing tanks is so dangerous? This is why buffing alpha damage is so dangerous. Everything becomes too good. You can't buff the 120s to 440 alpha damage and not touch anything else. You can't just buff them to 440 and not touch anything else. They're gonna touch other tanks. There are gonna be so many tier 10s that are gonna get alpha damage buffs. I want you to realize that. This game is going to start more and more playing like Blitz, and it already does. Our average game is 4.5 minutes. We don't even reach 5 minutes anymore. But the simplest and most obvious solution for tank balance, other than to address the crap game mechanics, is nerfing overtuned tanks. Nothing more. But they have to do 74 other steps. We have to buff everything. And it's so ironic to me, because the point that they brought up in their video was that they want to address two important things, really three important things. One was overtuned tanks. Okay, you want to address toxic tanks? That's the word he used. Then nerf them. You don't need to buff everything else. The other thing that they wanted to address was how quick the matches are going. Buffing everything, buffing alphas, buffing DPM is going to have the inverse effect. You can't do that. Lastly, they said, and most importantly, they wanted the grinds, the stock grinds, the tech tree grinds to be more favorable. They wanted you to have an easier time. So they were buffing stock tanks. What buff to a stock tank is going to outshine these buffs that they're giving to tier 10 alphas? Frack you if you're grinding a tank right now. You are going to get shafted so hard. You're doomed. It's a horrible, horrible thing that they're doing right now. They're going to be buffing all these alphas, all this armor, and they're telling you, aha, it's easier to grind now, it's easier to grind now. No, it's not. I don't care what you do to my stock Indian Panzer. If you give my stock Indian Panzer 15 more penetration or you give it 20 more alpha damage, what's it going to do now to FV215Bs and Super Conquerors and Chieftains shooting 440 alpha damage? Or worse, 105s potentially shooting 420 alpha damage? You've buffed them more. You've made stock grinds. If you do this, you are making stock grinds even worse. Are your super testers, if you have them, are they going and are they playing these tier 10s and testing them? Or are they playing the stock tanks and testing them against top tier tanks? Like, how are you balancing these? Oh, everybody, come along. We buffed the Indian Panzer. Everybody play the Indian Panzer. Let us know how it plays. No. You have to, don't have everyone play the Indian Panzer, have like 3 guys play the Indian Panzer and see what they do against the new Chieftain. Boom, that's how you test it. Oh, it sucked. Yay. People aren't testing these stock tanks. Why would they? Like, oh, okay, the Indian Panzer's been buffed. I don't know if that one's been buffed. I'm just being theoretical here, giving an example. And they're going to be playing it fully upgraded. I'm sorry, but that's the nature of these people. You're not getting fair tests. You're not getting fair tests. It's actually awful. So yeah, that's just what I want to say. What I wanted to bring up. Like it's awful. But yeah, if they wanted to make stock grinds easier, why are they buffing anything but stock tanks? In fact, if they wanted to make the games last longer, why are they buffing anything at all? But okay, let's say they are trying to kill two birds, okay? Two birds with two stones and the same update, okay? So you're buffing stock tanks. Why are you buffing anything else? Especially because if you buff anything else, not only does it hurt stock tanks, but it also hurts the longevity of the game. The longevity of matches. Which is something you're trying to fix. My gosh. They are making stock tanks worse than they've ever been before. Think about all the stock tanks that aren't going to get buffed. They're going to be worse than they've ever been before. They are nerfing stock tanks. They are nerfing your grind. If you are a free-to-play player, screw you, says Wargaming. Screw you for not spending money on our game. How dare you populate our servers, which have been dying? How dare you? How dare you play our game and allow it to continue forward? You free-to-play players, how dare you not spend money? All the work we at Wargaming do for you, and you sit there and you make sure the game continues on, but you don't give us your money. You only give us your time. You only give us your satisfaction. You only give us hours of your life that you could be spending with your wife. You could be spending maybe mowing the lawn. You could be spending writing a book. You could be spending with your children. Instead, no, you ungrateful swines, you ungrateful pigs, spend your money, buy your premium tanks, buy your free XP, skip these tanks. Is what they're telling you. Screw you. So this means everything in their development stream were just talking points and lies. They have no intention to increase the time in game. They have no increase, and man, I'm fumbling. But I'll tell you that I am. They have no intention of increasing how long matches are played for. They don't care. This will only hurt. They don't care that the games are moving too quickly. So this is what they say to you. Screw food players. Here are some buffs you think, so that you think we care. But also eat 440 alpha from 120s. And what will likely be 400 to 420 from 105s. Yeah. Now, I wish I could say that this is not going to happen. I do. But so often, I make videos with the benefit of the doubt when I make these theory videos, and I'm excited. But not today. I'm going to the extreme. I'm looking at the buffs that they have, and they're not computing. 440 on the Chisel does not compute. Doesn't make sense. Which means they didn't buff the Chisel. They buffed something else. And that tank shares the same gun. So they buffed the Chieftain. But again, that doesn't make sense. The Chieftain buff to 440 doesn't make sense. So they didn't buff the Chieftain, they buffed something else. They buffed the 120s. They buffed the British 120s. That's the only thing that makes sense. And because the Chieftain is a 120, it got the same treatment. Because the Chisel shares the same gun as the Chieftain, it got the same treatment. That's the only thing I can think of that makes sense. Because despite their stupidity, they have an ounce of reason to what they do. They just don't think it through. It's like, oh, this is a great idea. Sure, but as soon as you consider variables, you realize it's retarded. I use that word on my channel, guys, so if you want to get offended, go for it. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's my rant video. That is what I wanted to bring to the table, bring to light. The alpha buffs, that's what they said they're doing. They're buffing alphas. So that is my belief in what they mean by that. To be like, oh, that's not what they mean. No, they said they're buffing alphas. That's what they mean. Get ready for 440 alphas, 420 alphas, maybe 460 alphas, maybe some 560 alphas. I don't know. Things are getting buffed. Alphas are getting buffed. And stock tanks free-to-play players are getting screwed. Well done, Wargaming. You suck. That's it. That's my theoretical video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, slap that like button, comment, subscribe. And I'll be seeing you all later. Take care, everyone. And peace out.